So I'm very excited about this presentation. I just, the skills we need now. I love,
Mhm.
you know, talking about, okay, what do we use to support the use of AI and how can we incorporate it in as a tool? And so I'm very excited.
Well, I'm happy for that, and it is an exciting topic, I'll say, because for me, the more I can learn and understand how to improve myself and benefit my students, and it's awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's that growth mindset you were talking about. I was so excited about uh, the number of attendees you had in your first presentation. It was, it
I
was,
think what, 30 or
yeah,
so.
yeah.
Wow.
I think it was up to 37 at one time.
Wow.
So,
Awesome.
yeah,
I'm glad.
that's amazing. So, and it just is a reflection of how interested everyone is in this topic. So, we're hungering for knowledge.
Awesome.
So, just a couple of more minutes and we'll get underway. I hope my volume is okay.
Great. I can hear you well. Thank you.
Okay, good,
So
good, good.
clear, so sharp.
I tried oh, thank you, Marissa. The I tried earbud things for a while, but that microphone just didn't do it. That little built-in, so I had to switch back to real old-fashioned headset. Okay, 1 minute and we'll get underway. And you are working on an article for publication now, Dr. Dennis.
For
So
both presentations, yes. Yes. I'm a
that's
little
ex
bit submitting, but it'll be this week with a lot more information.
well, that's exciting.
Thank you.